So this is the session of our seminar on criminalization of nuclear war systems, where we will go deeper into checking out how the banking system is supporting nuclear weapons and therefore even nuclear war risk for the living systems of our Mother Earth inhabitants. And let the higher forces be with us. So I would like to come back to the fabulous presentation, fabulous conference of Helen Caldecott that we were checking previous days. And in Helen Caldecott's conference, we had some eminent speakers. One of which was Susie Snyder, and she was having a speech on don'tbankthebomb.com findings. And on this page, Don't Bank the Bomb, Don't Bank on the Bomb, you can find a list of banks who are financing nuclear weapons. So, which banks, pension funds, insurance companies, asset managers and other financial institutions around the globe are financing the 20 major nuclear weapons companies examined in this report? So you can see what a brilliant work is exposed here. This is both Americas, this is Asia Pacific, but we are mainly interested right now in Europe, though they have Middle East here as well, you see. So if we go here in the list of Europe, and check out, they don't have Baltic states, but we are very interested in Swedish banks, because here in Latvia, for example, we have monopoly of Swedish bank units, and many of them are Swedbank, SEB Bank, Nordea, and let's have a look. What is their situation? Summary of Swedish, please. Summary of Swedish investments. That is a report found the 4 Swedish financial institutions are substantively involved in financing nuclear weapons companies. And they are, look, isn't it interesting? All of the banks that are here in Latvia. Nordea Bank, Scandinavian, ACB, and Handelsbanken and Swedbank. This is quite shocking, isn't it? So in October 2011, Nordea Bank provided a loan of an estimated 46 million to Rolls-Royce, which is part of a joint venture in the United Kingdom to develop a new class of nuclear-armed submarines. It is also involved in the maintenance of the existing fleet of Vanguard-class submarines. That is sort of one example of this involvement. And in December 2010, ACB provided a loan of an estimated 131 million US dollars to BAE Systems, which is also involved in the development of the new class of nuclear-armed submarine for the United Kingdom. and is part of a joint venture that produces nuclear missiles for the French Air Force. In April 2011, it provided a loan of an estimated 111 million to EADS, which produces submarine-launched nuclear missiles for the French Navy and is part of the joint venture that builds nuclear missiles for French Air Force. And what about Svenska Handelsbanken? In July 2010, Svenska Finance International, part of Svenska Handelsbanken, provided a loan of an estimated 37 million to General Dynamics. General Dynamics provides maintenance, engineering and technical support for United States nuclear-armed submarines. It built the Ohio-class submarines for the United States Navy, many of which are equipped with Trident nuclear missiles. And what about good old Swedbank? Owns shares worth 62 million United States dollars in Jacobs Engineering, and Jacobs owns a 1/3 share in the Atomic Weapons Establishment, which designs, manufactures and maintains the nuclear warheads for the United Kingdom's Trident submarine-launched intercontinental ballistic missiles. Swedbank also owns shares worth 840,000 in the Red Hall Group, which is involved in mechanical and engineering activities in the British AWE, including the assembly of nuclear warheads. So here are the plain findings. And exactly these banks have taken over the market of Latvian banking system. This is just a fact. And here is another document. 3 financial institutions made an estimate of $3 million available to nuclear weapons producing companies in Sweden. So this document contains specific information from 2014. Don't bank on the bomb. So this is a recent information. It profiles financial institutions with known published policies banning or limiting investment in nuclear weapons producers. It also includes the list of financial institutions that have significant financing relationships with one or more of the nuclear weapons producers identified in the report. Finally, it provides a brief summary of the nuclear weapons related work of each of the identified producers. For more detail, you can find the full report on the webpage don'tbankonthebomb.com. And let's have a look here then. Running up institutions operating in Sweden. And here is the Hall of Shame. What I like about them is that they have a Hall of Shame. Those are the banks that are the bad banks that really invest in and support nuclear weapons. And they have also Hall of Fame, you see here. That is the ones that are truly avoiding such monstrous investments and support. And that is how, by the forces of marketing and our own money power, we can change the money flows. And they are working brilliantly by informing the users and the people which banks are the good ones and which are the bad ones. And it works. They have fabulous results. So you can see Susie giving this report on Dr. Helen Caldicott's conference. HelenCaldicott.com. Go into seminar, the recent seminar. Anyway, so if we have a look now, Nordea, SEB and Swedbank here in the Hall of no, wait, SEB and Handelsbanken, Hall of Shame, yeah? And runners-up are also quite involved. So we start on page 5, and we'll have a look what these banks are doing. The runner-up category provides examples of institutions that have adopted and implemented a policy, including investments in nuclear weapon producing companies, but whose policy is either not fully comprehensive or not implemented consistently. The examples listed here are institutions operating but not necessarily based in your country. So it's not as bad as Hall of Shame, but it's still not nuclear proof. So here is Nordea as the largest financial service group in Northern Europe. And it offers private, retail, corporate and institutional banking products as well as life and pension products, and serves approximately 10 million households, around 500,000 corporate customers. So as of 2012, Nordea has excluded companies that contribute to the development of manufacture of new nuclear weapon programs, including delivery systems that are specifically designed for nuclear weapons. And the decision to exclude nuclear weapons producers is in line with Nordea's 2010 policy of illegal weapons. And Nordea's policy does not exclude companies that are involved in already developed nuclear weapons. Companies that contribute to the maintenance of new nuclear weapon programs are also not excluded. Nordea's exclusion policy applies to all asset management activities except for its passively managed funds. External asset managers are informed about companies that breach international norms and encouraged to implement Nordea's policy for responsible investment. Nordea does not apply the exclusion policy to its commercial banking activities, nor to its investment banking activities. Nordea's exclusion list currently contains 11 companies involved in nuclear weapons, which is Babcock International, BAE Systems, EADS, Finmeccanica, General Dynamics, Hahn, WHA Corporation, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Rolls-Royce, Safran and United Technologies. The exclusion list is based on the findings of data provider Ethics SRI Advisors. So the fact that Nordea are having a nuclear weapons policy is commended, but for a place in the Hall of Fame, Nordea should strengthen its policy to cover companies involved in nuclear weapon maintenance and modernization. Furthermore, the policy should apply to Nordea's commercial banking and investment banking activities and to its passively managed funds. In addition, the external asset managers should be required to apply Nordea's policy. And they encourage Nordea to further strengthen the policy so that it may be listed in the Hall of Fame in a future update of this report. So as we see, Nordea is still doing dirty work. And what about SEB? SEB is the leading corporate investment bank in Nordic countries, serving large corporations and financial institutions with corporate banking, trading and capital markets, and global transaction services. SEB also provides about 4 million individual customers with financial advice and services for, among others, savings, loans, pension solutions, and life insurance. In the second half of 2013, SEB decided to no longer invest in companies involved in the development and manufacture of nuclear weapons. Consequently, the bank divested from all investment holdings in these companies. The exclusion policy currently applies to all investments made on SEB's own account and to its actively managed funds, but the bank is working on an update of its nuclear weapons policy that may feature more asset management categories, both managed internally and externally. ACB has already taken the decision to exclude nuclear weapons from its passively managed funds, but it is still implementing this in practice. ACB is looking into the possibilities of expanding the policy to its commercial banking and investment banking activities. The bank is also assessing whether to exclude companies involved in the maintenance and trade of nuclear weapons, as well as companies with activities related to delivery systems that are specifically designed for nuclear weapons. ACB's exclusion list currently contains 12 companies with activities related to nuclear weapons. Babcock International, BAE Systems, EADS, Finmeccanica, General Dynamics, Huntington Ingalls Industries, Larsen & Toubro, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Rolls-Royce Holdings, Safran and United Technologies. The exclusion list is based on the findings of data provider ethics SRI advisors. So, Don't Bank on the Bomb is commending ACB for having a nuclear weapons policy. To be listed in the Hall of Fame, though, ACB should exclude companies involved in the maintenance of nuclear weapons and companies with activities related to specifically designed delivery systems. Furthermore, ACB's policy should cover commercial banking and investment banking activities and should be applied to all financial products. So they look forward to assessing ACB's updated nuclear weapons policy and encourage ACB to further strengthen the policy so that it may be listed in the Hall of Fame in next report. So what about Swedbank? It is Sweden's largest financial institution. By the way, it was a corporate bank before they grabbed it 20 years ago. It was a cooperative. It was a cooperative. It was owned by the people. No more any longer. But so what about them? It is the largest financial institution, serving 8 million private customers in Sweden, and of 10 million there are inhabitants, so 80%, and over 600,000 corporate and organizational customers. Swedbank also has a leading position in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. That's right. Swedbank's position paper in defense equipment outlines that Swedbank applies a zero-tolerance principle for financial services to customers belonging to a group that is manufacturing, modernizing, selling, or buying nuclear weapons. If a company decides to get involved in nuclear weapons, Swedbank does not terminate existing loan contracts, though. However, a renewal of loan falls under the restrictions of the position paper and is not allowed. Swedbank Robur, the asset manager of Swedbank, has implemented a policy that prohibits investment in nuclear weapons producers. Swedbank now also divests from investment holdings in nuclear weapons producers. The policy applies to all asset management categories except for investment made on behalf of third parties. Swedbank also excludes nuclear weapons producers from its index funds. It is currently adjusting its index funds to ensure no nuclear weapons producers are featured. As Swedbank Robur has mainly internal asset managers, it has so far not focused on engagement with external fund of funds managers. However, it plans to engage with these in future. Swedbank Robur's published exclusion list contains 11 companies involved in nuclear weapons. Babcock and Wilcox, Babcock International, Airbus, GenCorp, Jacobs Engineering, Motowilik-Hinsky Zavody, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, Safran, Serco, and United Technologies. The list is based on information from external research providers, global engagement services, and ethics SRI advisors. And they commend Swedbank for having a nuclear weapons policy and welcome the decision to divest from investment holdings in nuclear weapons producers. But for a place in Hall of Fame, the bank should also apply its policy to all asset management categories and terminate existing loan contracts with nuclear weapons producers. And Don't Bank on the Bomb encouraged Swedbank to further strengthen the policy so that it may be listed in the Hall of Fame in their next report. So now we are to the very, very goodies. And the very goodies are a bit the same like the previous ones. So this is the Hall of Shame. These are the bad ones. This section contains the results of Don't Bank on the Bomb research, into which financial institutions are financing and or investing in the nuclear weapon companies identified in the report. The analysis was performed according to the methodology and thresholds defined in the methodology explanations below. Each section provides the following information for each financial institution. The types of financial relations which the financial institution has with one or more nuclear weapon companies. The relations are grouped by loans, investment banking and asset management. Financial activities are listed alphabetically by nuclear weapons companies for each category. Second one, the name of the receiving company, the amount, the date, and if known, the purpose for each financial relation. For loans and bonds, the maturity date is given as well as the interest rate. So let's have a look at SEB that we have here in Latvia. This part is on SEB in the Hall of Shame. Why are they there? So Skandinaviska Enskilda Banken has made an estimated 662 million United States dollars available to the nuclear weapons producers listed in this report since January 2011. The table below provides an overview of the loans provided by SEB Sweden to the nuclear weapon companies since January 2011. And here you can see Airbus Group, EADS, total value. This is 4,345 million US dollars. An estimated participation of this bank would be, what I understand, 76 of them, 76 million. BAE Systems of 3,269 million, 82, and ThyssenKrupp of 2,751 million US dollars. SEB has provided loans of 75 million. And then the table below provides an overview of the underwriting of bond issuances by SEB Sweden for the nuclear weapon companies since January 2011. Underwriting of bond issuances by SEB. Here you can see that it has happened for ThyssenKrupp. Of total value 1,717 million US dollars. The estimated participation of SEB has been 429 million US dollars. That's it for SEB. And now we look at Svenska Handelsbanken. And that has made an estimated 78 million US dollars available to the nuclear weapons producers listed in this report since January 2011. And the table below provides an overview of the loans provided by Svenska Handelsbanken to the nuclear weapon companies since January 2011. And here you can see that loans provided by Svenska Handelsbanken are to the company General Dynamics where of total value 1,000 million US dollars, their estimated participation is 35 and 43. That would be together 78 million US dollars. And here you can read the methodology, how all of this, and the definitions, how all of these estimations have been done. But I will not go into this further in, but this pretty well describes the area of banking system cartels engagement. And of course, nuclear weapons producing companies are listed here on page 10. So just generally into the subject, we could have a look.
That's page 15.
Which was it?
Page 10 you want.
So, nuclear weapons producing companies. I will not mention them, you have them on the screen. That is sick. And here are the references, which is quite important too for scientific work. So thank you so much to Susie and Helen Caldicott conference and the whole Don't Bank on the Bomb people who have been working hard to get these lists forward. I would just like to remind you on my previous take on this matter that just stopping nuclear weapons is not systemically enough. Because right now we have this situation when we will go into this subject tomorrow, when we will see the structure of New World Order grid. Grabbing in all the social systems of society, the whole planet. And these nuclear weapons are not deconstructed just for the reason of this New World Order appearance. Because people are in such great stress and they see this creeping onto them. And of course, some of the countries can't put down these terrible weapons because they don't trust the New World Order and the deep state of things. And so that's why we're working on the whole matrix of system errors. The only chance, I think, there is to put in place a good system is by seeing the whole matrix of errors and updating the systems all together into peace and welfare systems and abolishment of nuclear weapons then will happen as well. Because right now, just criminalizing nuclear weapons could cause the very fact of the final colonization of nations, because then they wouldn't have any means to protest to the total colonization system that is creeping on them through law and international law. So anyway, what good international law there is, that is the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People. That is a fabulous achievement that has been put into place on 2007, on the 13th of September, by something like 60 nations that declared this, the rights of indigenous people. And that piece of law that protects the laws of our predecessors and the ancient cultures of the world is the one that I use in my work to restore the divine laws of higher forces and Mother Nature. And so we will pass on this subject of property and banking into the subject of how was it before, thousands of years ago, when people everywhere were indigenous. People were we all come from indigenous roots, and if we just link into our past of our previous generations, then we can see the spirit and the higher laws of the solutions. And here I will attend This is, on Friday we will be talking how to solve these troubles, these systemic troubles, and how to put a good system in place. But today I will touch upon the property and wisdom of healing of indigenous, that to my understanding can be used with methodological simplicity, because you just have to find indigenous people in any local area where you live and connect onto their cultural systems and just let them heal the system errors. So here is the speech of Evan Peter. And he is an indigenous leader who is the Vice Chancellor for Rural Community and Native Education at University of Alaska, Fairbanks, and Nitsai Quichan Koikon, Native American from Arctic Village, where he served 3 years as tribal chief. And Evan dedicates his life to indigenous justice.
In my community, you're perceived as being a successful human being based on how much skill you have developed in living in good relationship with the land, living from the land. It's based on how much knowledge you're retaining in your lifetime. You know, you can experience a whole lifetime and not have paid attention to what has happened in that, to yourself or to others, and so you're not gaining that knowledge. And then also the attainment of wisdom. And as you gain more skills, as you gain more knowledge, as you gain more wisdom, you become more successful within my community. Another signifier of success in my community, you know, in Indigenous community, is your wealth is defined by how much you give, not by how much you take. They say, you know, always speak the truth. Always speak from your heart. Never raise your voice against anyone. And in that way, our people will prevail in whatever the path it is. You know, I think that we don't project that that means one result or another, but that we will prevail in being who we are as a Gwich'in people and carrying ourselves in the way that we were raised. And that is probably the most important thing we can be doing, despite what happens to our people or to the rest of, you know, species and humanity in the world. In the United States, we've generated quite a bit of nuclear waste through the years. That's, you know, a lot of it currently being out in New Mexico. And the industry and the government trying to find a location to store this nuclear waste. And of course, the places that are the most appealing are indigenous reservations. And so you have a similar situation where you have the nuclear industry with the federal government trying to seek out a reservation that's willing to store all the nuclear waste on their reservation lands and offering to pay them some millions of dollars a year to allow them to do that. And you have, you know, when you look at these things and you look at Hollywood or Berkeley, for example, and if you had the energy industry coming in and saying, hey, we're going to stick a coal-fired power plant down on the corner of University Avenue and Shattuck, it would blow up into a massive resistance. It would never happen. The idea of storing nuclear waste near one of those communities would not even cross the table as a possibility. But within indigenous communities in this country, it's just the norm. The energy industry is wanting to build a massive power plant they're calling Desert Rock on the Navajo Nation that they say will generate some millions of dollars a year for the Navajo Nation tribal government. And then the other major development that is being proposed for the Navajo Nation is a military contract to develop missile technology. And I'm using these examples because it's a way I think of, you know, once you stick a community into a place of dependency, then it's easy to manipulate that community when, you know, the need is so great there. You know, you have the Navajo Nation, 300,000 Navajo people living on a land base in Arizona that half the population still doesn't have telephones, you know, or running water or electricity. Yet you have it being one of the most massive energy producing places in the whole United States, having been powering California, you know, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Phoenix for generations now. And you have people having made tremendous amount of profit off of the Peabody Coal Company, some of the coal barons of the earlier generations. And so you still have a population there that's basically in a situation where they can be economically blackmailed by these industries. And you also have, therefore, the energy industry and the military industrial complex through the federal government sinking deeper teeth and ties into that community, so it makes it more difficult for communities to really resist and make transitions that are healthy for themselves. And it's, you know, when you're in a situation where you're struggling day to day to make ends meet and to have a healthy survival for your people and funding for healthcare and education, then you're susceptible to accepting whatever money, resources, or business opportunities come your way.
Yeah, so this is what this... Thank you to our brothers from Native America who are everywhere. He said was so brilliant. It is systemical analysis, really, and he is talking about systemic economical blackmail by banks, yeah, and the whole systemical inquisition, I would say, and that's why we in Latvia, we also work through Latvian society with the aborigines of Latvia, with the concept of returning to the rules of our predecessors and to the property rights given by the higher forces to us. And that is the way forward. And we are very happy that Native Americans have preserved their very old Aboriginal rules. And they are actually in better conditions than we are in Latvia, because they do have their reservoirs where they can have their laws of old times. But here in Latvia we have on every inch of our land obey laws that do not at all compare to our higher laws given by our predecessors. And that's why we have created an honor court where Latvians themselves can decide their own decisions on property and on the laws and on all the issues that matter. We are taking the subject back into our powers now. And let the higher forces be with us, because there is obviously a higher force, and there is obviously for thousands of years used law system that we just have to go back to through our heart consciousness, connect and lovingly put into place a much better, healthy system. And divide the resources of Mother Earth into resource-based economy. And this is all about redistribution of resources to all living systems, so that we can thrive instead of suffer, so that we have the next era of love, peace and happiness, and stop these dark ages of suffering, war, no more. So let us love each other and let us be loved. And that's it for today. Now we will have the ritual at the seaside. And you can join us on the next conferences in September. But this is only half of the week. We will have 4 more days of work. So keep watching us on YouTube. Thank you. Wait. You know, I'll take this one too. Did you get it?